Hey there, so today I want to cover an article with you, and I want to look at the casual dismissal of what people say about, say, a Doctor Who and a Star Trek, and really let this sink in when we're talking about this stuff. I mean, I've been discussing Doctor Who recently, for example, and I've talked about the BBC and their advertisement because we were all supposed to love Doctor Who because, hey, we have a female Doctor Who. Now, they didn't care about the storylines. They didn't care about the other elements like the Doctor's quirkiness or the enemies and on. No, they wanted to bring you something that was chock full of the political pulpit, and you were supposed to chug it down by the gallon or else. Now, with Star Trek Discovery, that's mentioned in this as well, I personally did not like Star Trek Discovery because I thought it was all flash and gimmick. I thought it forgot exactly what Star Trek was beneath that too, because beneath the glossy veneer, I thought that you needed something that didn't divide with the socio-political. It was bigger than that. It set down a baseline and it let us jump off from that point. It let us go beyond. We had already solved many of these problems. Yes, we could run into them somewhat, but that was not the driving point for every show. That was not going to be the thing you saw made manifest again and again and again. Now, of course, if you look at what critics say about this stuff, almost 100% every time. Every time they go out, got to certify fresh this. But when you look at the audience reactions, well, they're everything from divided to very, very poor. Now, if you're one of the people that likes this stuff too, I am not trying to insult you by having an opinion. That's one of the things that annoys me in this day and age. If I have an opinion about something, if you like it, well, just dismiss what I'm saying. It's as easy as that. But to go out and to add qualifiers, to go and attack people as ists and phobes, you're not trying to go out and dismiss people's opinions. What you're trying to do is go beyond mafifis, and you're trying to damage not integrity, but you're trying to hit reputation, occupation. You're trying to destroy. So looking at this article, I think that it's very telling. So you have Star Trek's Martin Green, quote unquote, was not surprised by the reaction of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who casting. Both women made history on their shows, it says. So looking at this, of course, it goes in and it talks about how they broke new ground with their respective shows, and anything groundbreaking, of course, is bound to ruffle feathers. Because, of course, that's why it ruffled feathers. And Martin Green faced criticism early on from a small but toxic subsection of the Star Trek fandom who felt her casting appealed to PC culture. So apparently, if you go out and you talk about everything that's going wrong with that, of course, her casting is about PC culture. This does not work with Star Trek at all because, well, let's look at a few captains out there. Of course, we never had a non-white captain that was beloved, have we? No, never ever had that. Never had a female captain before that was beloved, have we? Nope, never had that at all. Of course, everything, it's laid down to this specific person in PC culture. That was the argument, right? But let's continue. I mean, you talk about insulting too. Well, Jodie faced opposition from those Doctor Who fans that believed that a Time Lord should be male. Now, to be fair, there were people that did say that, but what they're talking about is the opposition to storylines that, of course, are inundated with, again, the pulpit. You have people that are climbing atop it, talking from on high, talking down to people. And look at the other changes in Doctor Who. Look at where stories take place. Look at how stories take place. And again, look at the way the Doctor's portrayed. But, of course, none of that works into it. But continuing. In a recent chat with Martin Green about the second season of Discovery, Digital Spy and other media asked her if she was surprised to see the opposition in the Doctor Who fandom to the female Doctor. I'm not surprised by it, she admitted, because people were upset that a black woman was the lead of Star Trek. what an insult, I swear. Continuing, there was a lot of vitriol that came our way and came my way when I first came aboard. It was like, I think there's just checking off boxes and meeting quotas. How dare they and all of that. These were people who claimed to be diehard Star Trek fans, and I think that's completely antithetical. How can you say that? So all that means is that you have so much further to go. You just have so much further to go. So it doesn't surprise me, unfortunately, that people would push back about that, because change is really difficult and a lot of people are not willing to do it. Of course, again, this kind of insult, you have problems with the show, you don't think that it's good, you get insulted as fandom, and you're supposed to just chug that down. Not only that, but you're supposed to pay for the privilege of being insulted, because when you look at that, you have to pay, paywall. So that makes me really want to pay for that, sure. Because what you're being told there is that you have a problem with a person's race and that you have a problem with someone's gender when you think the show is off. That has become the deflection point of current year. What's bad is they mentioned that here too. You had both female and quote-unquote POC captains, and you have this statement. People were still upset. It really does just speak to the limitations of the ego. The limitations of the ego. Talking about other people's ego. Because, of course, you couldn't have done anything wrong in your role. Maybe your portrayal didn't resonate with people. Maybe the showrunners didn't do a good job. Maybe there were issues within the show and people were looking at that. That's what fandom does. Fandom looks at things. They argue about it. They argue about everything. The issue has become, within again current year, the deflection point. The way that you respond to that is by calling people things. Well, look at again what they're saying here. They are flagrantly calling people that spent money to watch something but didn't like it. They're flagrantly calling them racist and they're calling them sexist. I mean, they're doing that with the idea that you will come back to the trough because, hey, you gotta still feed, don't you, piggy? Anyway, continuing on. As for whether she pays attention to the flack, she said, I think there's a certain amount of it, quote unquote, getting to me that is always going to be there. But of course it's hurtful. It was a two-sided coin, because on one side of the coin, I was not surprised because I'm a black woman raised in the South. Laughs. So that kind of thing is very familiar to me, unfortunately. Again, showcasing that if you have a problem with it, well, you're comparable to this personification of the South and this personification of how Southerners treat black people. That's what it's saying right here. Lovely, lovely stuff. I tell you, isn't that great? But continuing that statement. But then on the other side of the coin, I was surprised because this is Star Trek that we're talking about. And because this has been the legacy the whole time. Like I was saying, it's antithetical. I was confused. Yes, so when you're looking at that, maybe again, if it's confusing to you and you're coming to a specific conclusion about it, maybe, just maybe, you're coming to the wrong conclusion. And I'm not saying there aren't some people out there that, again, wouldn't like something because of. But adding this to Star Trek, adding it to sci-fi, coming to this conclusion based on, well, what exactly? Yeah, it says a lot. Now, finishing this, then it says Jodie Whittaker has likewise recently dismissed gender-based criticism of her casting and basically said that she has proven that either a boy or a girl can play that. I would say that, yeah, either a quote-unquote boy or a girl can play that, but Jodie Whittaker, yeah, you can't play the Doctor. You're not good at it. That's the one thing that these folks, they don't want to hear. If you don't like someone in a role, you are apparently some type of monster these days, because criticism, that's not allowed. I understand that from a marketing point too, and I understand these days that this is the perfect marketing marketing tool because you put out a lackluster product. Well, say that the blowback you got to it, say that that's caused by X. Don't talk about the product itself. No, talk about the fandom and how the fandom there, they just weren't willing to receive this thing there. And of course, if you're talking about the way that people react and you're saying that they're giving blowback because they think that this is going to be just some PC culture move, well, the show can prove them wrong. You can have the show that has the material that people expect, the thing that people love, not the social lectum. You don't have to have something pulled up there to tell people how they're heretical wrong thinkers time in and time again. You basically don't throw out everything just to say, hey, that's not what we did. We didn't throw out anything. It's amazing. Again, I see that from a marketing point. I see how this is the perfect marketing, in fact, because this has made the most bulletproof way of going out and creating bad products. Of course, the only problem with this is the spin. It may look good on paper, but after a while, it doesn't work anymore because you're insulting people and you're insulting people. And those people, they get tired and they walk away. We've seen it in other fandoms, everything from video games, Star Wars, comic books. We see that time and again. We see this divide now because apparently this is what you get. You have any type of opposition to huge fundamental changes to something. Well, you're not open to it because of X. And of course, X, when you look at that, well, like I say, with this, what is this saying about you if you don't like female or POC captains? But anyhow, you let me know what you think on this stuff. If you like this kind of content, please consider supporting the channel. There are a few ways to do that, but ultimately, liking, subbing, hitting that bell, those are the great ways. And then beyond that, if you like material and you want new daily, boom, you can hit those links out there, check it out, support the channel how you will. I talk about things from a cultural lens as well, because this kind of reaction here, this is not limited to this type of entertainment. It is out there within everything. I mean, everything is inundated with it. You hear the same reaction in comic books, which I like to talk about, in role-playing games, in everything. And man, this kind of stuff, it's basically killing commodities. If you have a fandom that you enjoy and you're being told this kind of stuff, you can walk away too. You don't have to take that. But when you walk away, you can walk away very loudly. But anyhow, leave me your comments, and as always, I appreciate you showing up. New content daily, as I said. Thank you.